Now that we have our database server set up and our schema created and loaded in, so our tables are ready to go, let's actually start writing some code to connect to the MySQL server and execute some queries on it. I'm first going to go here to a MySQL.js file I've created, and I've set up a couple of things to help me out. I've got the MySQL module set up, and then I've got the 4 key variables I need for connections, which are the host, the user, the password, and the database. So the way I'm going to create a connection to the remote server in MySQL is through a function called, oddly enough, createConnection. It's going to take an object which wants the host, it wants the user, it wants the password, and it wants the database you want to use, like that. Then we shut that off. Now to actually make the connection, we need to call the connect function. However, it takes a callback, so we're going to go back to our good old friend async.waterfall here. And let's do that, and function results, and it always moves you to a strange location. So there we go. Let's write our first function, and we should be able to go dbclient.connect, and we'll just give it the callback. And then the next guy in our waterfall here, we'll say dbclient.end. We must always be sure to call dbclient.end, and in fact, we'll probably be far better off doing it here. So our waterfall will always at the end, in an error situation or a non-error situation, we'll make sure that we definitely aren't using the client anymore. Let's quickly go and make sure this works. Node MySQL. We create the connection and then we immediately close it, and we are done with connecting. Most everything else we do with the MySQL module and interacting with our MySQL database server will be done using the query function. So the connect function returns some results or some statistics, so we'll look for those here. And then we'll do dbclient.query like that. It's usually given the SQL command you want to execute, the SQL statement, some parameters to pass to it, and then a callback, which will be given error results and or rows. Like if you're using if you're doing a query to select things, you'll be given rows. You're always given a third parameter, although sometimes it might be undefined, and that sometimes is some statistics or some fields or something like that. So let's start by inserting something into our database here. So to help me with that, I've actually kind of cheated and gone down here and pre-prepared JSON objects, or some objects here with the albums we want to insert. And then the other thing I'm going to do is, let me see if I can make this work. No, all right. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go visit the schema, and this will let me sort of remember what fields I want to insert. So I'm going to say insert into albums, and then I'm going to insert all of the columns, so I just need to do 4. There's name, title, date, and description, like that. Now I'm going to pass in the 4 values, which was a1.name, a1.title, a1.date, and a1.description, and then finally callback. Okay, now the MySQL driver here does a cool thing for us, and that is it takes the parameters that you pass in the array in the second parameter to the query function and inserts those sort of one by one wherever it sees a question mark in the original query. And the cool thing about this is it'll actually do any escaping. It'll figure out what type these are and wrap them in quotes or everything, so you don't have to worry about SQL injection attacks. It'll actually take care of all of the work for us for making the values safe. The other thing that's really nice is it'll convert this date to the date time we see here for the date field. So let's go ahead and write the next function in the chain, results fields CB, and let's print them out. Results fields. Let's call our callback, and hopefully, if we're lucky, this will all work for us. So let's give it a try. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to clean out my schema and just make sure I don't have any old rows or any garbage lying around or anything. And then I'm going to go back here and run the script. And great. So after I insert the row, you'll see that there's this data here called affected rows, and then there's some other information. There is no insert ID because I don't have an auto increment primary key field or whatever. If you remember from the schema here, I'm doing my own primary keys, which is just the name of the album. So, but I do see that affected rows is 1, and so I can actually add some extra logic here to say if results dot affected rows not equals to 1, then I can say callback new error, oh no's or something like that. So that's something that I can check with. All right, so we've inserted that value. Let's go ahead and insert one more here, just because it's fun, and we'll do A2, A2, A2 like that, and then that should work, and then we'll actually just go straight there. So again, let's clear stuff out so we don't get any sort of name or key collisions or sort of duplicate keys. We'll run it, and then if I go back to MySQL here, I should be able to say use photo albums and select star from albums, and you'll see indeed I do have the 2 records there. So that's exactly what we wanted to see. Let's go ahead and add one last album. Let's add that A3 here, and so query replace A2 A3. And now this is getting kind of tedious to have to add all these albums in one query at a time or everything like that. And for example here, I have all of these pictures I went ahead and created like this. And I'd like to sort of be able to insert them all into my, my database with one chunk of code and everything. So to do that, I'm actually going to write a for each loop. And since this is all asynchronous, I'm going to use one of the async for each series. So let's do results field CB. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say async.for each series, and I'm going to pass in the pix array. And the first thing I'm going to give it is the function item, and then callback. And then the last thing is the sort of final or results function like that. Okay, let's go ahead and do our work. So we're going to go dbclient.query insert into photos. And let's again, we're just going to insert everything. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 fields in the photos. So 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And then we're going to do item dot, and then let's go here. It's we have we got to do it in the right order. So we have album name, file name, description, and date. And here I called it album ID. So it's album ID, file name, description, and date. All right, let's do that. Item dot album ID, item dot file name, and item dot description, and item dot date. All right. Let us then give it the callback, and actually I need to do my own little results fields, and then I will do callback results because I don't want the sort of third parameter screwing with my async stuff here. Okay, and then that should be all there is to it, like that. All right, and then we can just do callback results. Actually, let's just use the top level. Let's do it the async callback, just so I'm super clear which one we're calling. And then the sort of third function here to this is function, or that's actually just pass the callback for the async for each series. Okay, so that should now insert a whole bunch of stuff into our pictures database, and let's see how that goes. I'm going to first clear out my database again by doing that. Oopsie. And let's just do that. And let's run our thing. And oops, I have a syntax error. So let's go fix that. Yes, I don't need that there. Great. And now we can go back to our thing and we can say use photo albums, select star from photos, and you'll see we have now all of the photos in our database. I'll very quickly introduce the delete and the update queries here. I'm not going to sort of teach you how to use these. I'll assume that you're probably pretty familiar already with SQL or you can find the MySQL documentation. It's very, very good on this. But effectively, results, and then since this callback is just doing the callback from async, there's just going to be results and then a new callback. So again, you can do dbclient.query delete from, for example, photos where album name equals, and again, you can use the parameterized queries using the question mark, and then you can say Italy 2012 or something like that. You can provide the extra parameters, and then similarly with update, you can say update photos set album name equals question mark where album name or equals question mark, and then you can pass in, Italy. I actually got the year wrong. Let's just say, for example, so I can do that or something. So, and then there's a callback. So that's the delete and the update. They're pretty straightforward and pretty easy to work with. And finally, to close things out, we'll take a look at the select statement, which is kind of our key workhorse for retrieving things from the database. So let's say select star from albums, and then here I'm not going to need to provide any extra data, and we'll pass in the callback, and then function. Now I'm going to get some rows, results, and fields, and the callback, and we can do console.log rows. Console.log. That's actually, we don't really care about that too much. All right, and then null. So let's take a look at everything here. The async for each series isn't actually returning any data, so I don't think we need this guy right now. So we should be able to, just with this, get all of the rows from albums and print it out. So let's go ahead and give that a whirl. And there we go. I get the 3 rows that I'm looking for here in our albums database, or albums table. So I can actually write arbitrary SQL statements here. I can say select star from albums where name is like I star, like that. And we'll run our little test script again, and we'll see we just get the 1 value there. I can actually also use the sort of parameterized queries or the parameterized values we've been using up here, where I can say where name equals question mark, and then I can say look for Toronto 2009, like that. And that'll get us just the 1 row that we wanted there. And the other thing I can do is I can really just any sort of select statement that I can use in sort of the MySQL client here. I can type in my JavaScript code. Now, the one thing I do sometimes when these statements start to get a little out of control is I actually start to use the JavaScript string continuation character. So you'll frequently see me typing in queries like this. I'll say select star from albums, order by date descending, and let's say limit 0 to. And so I have to make sure that each of these is sort of got a string continuation character, and then I don't need that, and then I'll just pass it the callback. Okay, so select star from album, or nope, let's actually clear our database schema and run that again, and it does not like my forgot one of these things. So you have to remember to put one of these backslashes at the end of every line that doesn't end with the double quote like this. Some people instead maybe choose to do it like, with the plus sign or something like that. Again, it doesn't really matter too much. So let's try that again. And there we go. We order them by date and then just get the first 2 of them from that. Okay, so that's the basics of working with select, and with that under our belt, let's go ahead and see how we modify our photo sharing web application to use all of this MySQL stuff.